get your hands up.
Throw them up.
We begin our football coverage today with our good hands moments presented by Allstate. You're in good hands with Lamar Jackson. You're in good hands when you have a quarterback who is as quarterbacky as Lamar Jackson. Lamar more or less locked up the MVP and went out for 5 touchdowns as the Ravens annihilated the Dolphins, blew them out. My question coming off of that game, they have an incredible defense. They have the MVP playing quarterback. They're incredibly well coached. Do you view the Ravens as a cut above everyone else in the NFL?
First of all, I like to appreciate how well you did that so that we can edit out all that wonderfulness before. But trust me, fans, you missed out on a good thing. Second of all, excellent virtue signaling by saying Lamar Jackson quarterbacking out of the quarterback out of all quarterbacks multiple times. I love it, Charlie. That's why you're my guy. I don't even remember what the question is, but Lamar is out of his mind. It wasn't just him. Like, there were a number of one-handed catches from defenders, from tight ends, from linebackers. This team seems like when you look around the league, it feels like there are 2 teams that are good and a bunch of other guys. The 49ers, one of the teams, and the other one is the Ravens. And as much as we want to give credit to how well that defense played, shutting down the Dolphins offense, I think it's appropriate that Lamar Jackson's our good hands player, because when it was time to lock down this MVP conversation, he had that game against the 49ers, and then he then followed it with a 5-touchdown through the air performance, which doesn't even take into account all the other ways he impacts the defense. It was incredible to see.
This felt like not just a coronation for Lamar Jackson, but also a coronation for every big decision the Ravens have made over the past couple of years, right? Like, they go out and they trade for Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith intercepts a pass. Roquan Smith tips away or takes away a pass to set up a second interception. Middle of the field gets taken away. Dolphins way fewer yards after catching this game than they've had previously. And then for Lamar, it's not just, that Lamar got better, but they replaced Greg Roman. They brought in Todd Monken. They had a more diverse passing attack than they've had in years past. The receivers, Zay Flowers has a 75-yard touchdown on the very, I believe the very same RPO the Dolphins ran a million times last year, which has to hurt Mike McDaniel to see his own speed concepts used against him in a big game. We saw Isaiah Likely, the backup tight end behind Mark Andrews, who was drafted last year, make an incredible catch, have a huge game here. We saw Odell Beckham have a big catch down the sideline, set up another touchdown. We saw a team that feels fully realized, I think, in a way that no other team in the NFL does, where I feel like as we head into the postseason, even the Niners, as good as the Niners are, we look at them and we're like, Brock Purdy might melt down if things aren't perfect around him, and Christian McCaffrey's hurt now. We don't have those same questions about the Ravens right now. I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, that was masterfully done by you to frame all of it that way. You need to wear a coat all the time if this is what version of Bill that we get when you're in the coat. I will say throw Patrick Queen in there also and playing really well. There was a time when Patrick Queen was thought to be a miss, but Roquan Smith showing up allows Patrick to move to a position where he is more comfortable and more impactful in the game. This defense has been great against a lot of offenses this year, and it's crazy. It feels like the point that you're making is we often, and I'm guilty of this also sometimes, of thinking like there's the 49ers and then the Ravens are close behind. Then they beat them last week, and watching that game, I was like, yeah, I thought the Ravens were going to win. They did win, but it didn't feel like the Ravens were just so much better than them. But you look at the way Ravens on the course of this season, and we've said this a number of times, their losses felt more fluky than anything.
Like, barely trailed all season.
Yeah. If we take out those, or don't even take them out, just factor in how they played in all of those games and understand that they I mean, you're rubbing your chin as if you knew this or you were right.
Well, I did say the Ravens were the most what was the word I used? Terrifying team in football earlier this year on the Round the Horn, with the only problem being that they also terrorize themselves when it comes to these games. But I mean, Dominique, this is a very insightful point you're going on. If we just take out the games the Ravens lost, they are dominant.
I stopped because that's not what I meant. Not take out the games that they lost. I mean, if we don't look at their record, it's a weird thing to say for the team to have the number 1 overall seed in all the playoffs. I think their record makes them seem worse than they actually are. If we don't look at their record and look at the way that they perform throughout the course of this season, I think we would have a better appreciation for how good this team really is and how good they can be. And then there's all the cliches about playing your best ball at the right time. They look better and better. They look better than they did against the 49ers, which you expect a letdown game to some degree. I know the Dolphins are an important opponent, but you think like, all right, this game is important to secure this home field advantage. Knowing it's a big game, going on the road to San Francisco and winning, followed by another big game. You know, when you have to win lots of big games in a row in the playoffs. And these are like kind of, I don't know, like not concrete points to make, but it's fun to see this team playing well right now.
So there's something that you guys said that really stuck out to me because you're talking about the 49ers, which I think we can still agree is a top team along with the Ravens in the NFL. The betting odds reflect that. But you were saying how everything needs to be perfect for that offense to succeed. And the interesting thing is, we're like, oh, the Ravens lost Keaton Mitchell. Maybe their running game will take a step back. No, Justice Hill will just be incredibly explosive from the line of scrimmage and all-purpose yards. Mark Andrews is out for the regular season. Are they going to take a step? Isaiah Likely is just the exact same player as Mark Andrews when you give him the amount of routes that Mark Andrews is running. It seems like they're a machine with replaceable parts, which is really interesting. And there's one part on the offense which is not replaceable, which is Lamar Jackson.
Ravens
they
fans.
do have that Pro Bowl backup quarterback behind him in Tyler.
Oh, Snoop!
Throw a touchdown in this game.
I think on Get Up last week, I talked about how great Lamar was, and I said it would be scary if he was ever like consistently like accurate because he has stretches where he's inaccurate. Ravens fans have taken that to get mad at me online and say that he's inconsistent with his accuracy. But even in the course of the game, we saw that, but it's not a problem. It's not a problem until it is. So right now, Lamar Jackson is playing great football, and I'm enjoying it, and he's going to get the MVP.
Well, then there's the question. It's not a problem until it is, because you brought up the Brock Purdy of it all, which he could melt down in the playoffs. Lamar is someone who hasn't played as well in the playoffs as he has in the regular season. I think the 3 touchdowns, 7 interceptions over the course of his playoff career. Are you any questions that this team is going to perform worse in higher leverage situations?
I mean, it's the NFL. They're going to play good teams. There's a chance that they don't play as well.
Maybe. Who knows in the AFC playoffs?
Yeah,
they might not play good teams.
That's a fair point. I don't have any legitimate concerns because the thing about it is it doesn't feel like anything concrete to me. You know, like it feels like more narrative than fact. And when the sample size is as small as career playoff games, like they're going to be skewed. I can't concentrate. Bill's giving me all the faces. Tell me where I'm wrong, Bill.
I mean, it does seem like there might be some cause and effect there, right? Like you're saying, oh, they got a small sample size in the playoffs. That's kind of because they keep losing the first time they play in the playoffs.
That's
like,
fair.
But I mean, you are kind of related a bit.
I used the buzzword that I thought you would appreciate, and I got a frown. That's what threw me off. I said sample size.
You already said we shouldn't consider wins and losses, which you know is right near and dear to my heart.
I know.
So
I'm
I appreciate
trying to win you
that.
over in the new year.
I appreciate that you're trying to make up. You didn't get anything for Christmas, so I appreciate that for the new year. You're trying to set me up.
After last episode where I went into psychology and emotion of the game, I felt like I was going to lean in and get Bill back by talking about sample size and wins are a useless stat. And instead, I get suit jacket frowny face Bill. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. I want happy Bill in 2020.
2024 is a business year, Domonique Foxworth. That's why I'm here in the suit. That's why I'm saying you gotta conduct your business in the new year and win in the postseason.
Well, I mean, I hope that. I hope that we don't have a poor performance out of them, because I do. I'm not gonna want to hear that for another year. I'm not gonna want to add any more credence to the idea that there's something wrong with Lamar or the Ravens in the playoffs, because I don't think it's true.
I agree. And I don't think there's like some magic thing that's going to change with the Ravens that would lead them to suddenly struggle. I don't believe that's the case. But when I think about this team and I try to be logical and reasonable and say, okay, what could happen? What might be the concern for me? I would look towards the secondary, and not because of talent, but because of injuries. They lost Marlon Humphrey during this game. Brandon Stevens, one of their starting corners, missed the game. Kyle Hamilton, who has been incredible this year, missed the game. And I know they were playing the Dolphins, who didn't have Jalen Waddle. They still had an incredible performance still. Took away Tyreek Hill for most of the game, who got hurt early on. They made Tua look bad. Tua got injured late in this game. The Dolphins are a mess right now. But if there is a weakness, it's the secondary has some injuries. So I'm just trying to think, if we're sitting here in 2 weeks and we're sitting, man, we believed in the Ravens and we got fooled. What fooled us? That seems like the most obvious place things could go wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it seemed like they showed up today and ready for a shootout,
question.
and only one team was ready for the shootout. And if they're capable of doing that going forward, then the secondary may not be an issue. But you're right, that is the weak spot of the team right now if you're picking one out. But yeah, I mean, I hope that we don't have to deal with that. I want the best teams to win, and like imagining and what if it's the Browns? Imagining oh Lord Jesus, oh God,
Flacco going into Baltimore.
Charlie and I were thinking the exact same thing, just waiting to mention Joey franchise. Oh man, I'm so excited.